Anthony Fantano just made a pretty big mistake and had to apologize to his entire audience, and today I have to talk about this drama. But before I do, hey, hi, hello, my name is Dan Frampton and welcome to the Art of Slop. And I swear to God, I'm not making a mountain out of a molehill. This is some serious business, okay? Because Anthony Fantano still to this day claims to be the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's so clear that I am 1,000 times more busy than this guy. This is my third video already today. Art of Slop, check. Main channel, check. Instagram reel, check. And I'm probably going to be going live a little bit later on today. But I'm not really here to compare schedules as to who's the busiest music nerd out there. I'm just here to tell you guys about the current situation as to why Anthony Fantano is out here apologizing to his entire audience. But before we get to this apology in question, I gotta tell you that this video is brought to you in part by my new comic book, Chapter 1 of Pit Pros, available for $0.00 down there in the description. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, that's just a beautiful cover. There's no way there's an entire story underneath that beautiful cover. It normally takes an entire team to put out a comic book. There's no way you, Dan Frampton, wrote and illustrated this comic book with a story behind it. It has to be just an amazing character design on this beautiful cover. I don't believe you for 1 second that you wrote and illustrated an entire comic book. Well, my friend, look at this. Panels, words, and panels. An entire story for you to consume right now. Well, it is only chapter 1 of a planned 9-chapter arc. So get into this on the ground level before you have to read 8 books to catch up. Pit Pros, chapter 1, available, link in the description. Okay, Anthony Fantano apologizing to his audience. And here it is. Apologies for the fuck up on my end. I have not been on my A game lately and will focus on being less of a moron, he says. This thing came out a couple hours ago and has already clocked in almost 1 million views on this thing. But it's not really the best apology. Really, it's kind of vague. He doesn't really address anything. If anybody's reading this apology, it has to be accompanied with research. There's no way you're gonna understand this apology unless you do a little digging. So let's do a little digging. Shall we just go down a little bit in this thread? And Anthony Fantano responded to a response. Eric Castle tweets out, Drake stands acting like this hasn't been the narrative from the beginning, LOL. Okay, so there's our first clue. Drake stands. Okay, so something's afoot. And then Anthony Fantano replies to that and says, well, yeah, part of the reason it was so believable and referenced in a few other reviews and bits of news coverage too. The biggest Drake fans and talking heads have been saying nonstop for the past several days that the album is just for people who get bitches, LOL. So now I'm thinking, okay, people are kind of already on board. People know what he's apologizing about. They're having the conversation, but then Dylan comes in and asks the question, well, what did you do? And here's the clip in question right now. This is what Anthony Fantano did. Roll it.
And as if the vibe of this record and its lyrical content needed to be spelled out, we allegedly had Party Next Door shortly after the release of this album taking to Instagram to really explain the point. It's an album to fuck to, not to sit down and analyze, my guy. Get some bitches. I mean, I appreciate this. It's rare that you get an artist coming out so boldly and just basically reviewing the album for you, even if this whole point is somewhat of a sad admission at the end of the day, because essentially what he is saying here is that the music itself is so unremarkable that you would need something as intense and attention demanding and amazing as sex to be happening while this album is playing in order to make putting it on worth it, which is kind of silly when you think about it.
And there it is. That's the clip. And you might be thinking, that's innocuous enough. He's just talking about a story, an Instagram story that an artist who put out this album put out in reference to their album, right? Well, the problem is, the artist didn't put out that story. That was a parody. Anthony Fantano read with his full chest in all earnesty what he believed to be a genuine sentiment coming from the artist. Now, as somebody that covers things online, this is the kind of stuff that you need to verify. If you didn't see that in the stories yourself, you have to report it as something that could or could not be fake. But the problem is, all you needed to do is one click to realize that it was fake. Because where did that story actually come from? Well, it was a doctored Photoshop that came from the account Daily Nowd. And all you need to do is just click into their account to see what they're all about. It says it right here. It's the first thing you read. #1 source for parody hip-hop news. Parody in absolute caps lock letters. With only 20,000 followers, so it's not like a gigantic account whatsoever. And here's the pinned tweet in question. The Daily Nowd tweet out on February 16th, 3 days ago as of this recording, Party Next Door shares and deletes cryptic message on his IG story, and then shows that cryptic message. This isn't a real news story. This is a parody. And when the Daily Nowd finds people taking the bait and running with it as serious, they then repost it and say this: just in, Anthony Fantano, internet's busiest music nerd, has just been nowed. He's been nowed. That means he got. That means he fell for a parody news story, which is so silly. The guy is chronically on Twitter, and I showed you how easy it was to find that this was a parody. Literally one click got me here. I didn't have to go to Google. I didn't have to go to AI. I didn't have to go to any other alternate news source. I wasn't in the back rooms on Reddit or whatever. I clicked one thing. Where did this come from? Found out where it came from, and where it came from was a parody hip-hop news source. And let's just finish reading their bio while we're here. We might as well finish the research for the melon out there. The guy's getting real lazy. Follow for viral content, and then this next one is really important. These are fake stories, not affiliated with Daily Loud. It's the Daily Nowd. Holy smokes, that's an embarrassing L, Anthony Fantano. And it would be embarrassing enough if you just tweeted about it. Nah, you added it into your entire review, and it actually influenced your review on it. So embarrassing, so silly, and that's coming from the Slop guy, okay? I don't do a lot of research. I do the bare amount of research, but I try to make sure that I do the one click that it takes to get the actual story. So then now, audience, that you have all of this context in mind, back to his apology. Apologies for the fuck up on my end. Still not addressing what it was. I have not been on my A game lately and will focus on being less of a moron. Well, I hope so. Your whole thing is that you're like an intellectual making videos on the internet, and going into it, we hope that you're doing the bare amount, especially when you have days and days to come up with these reviews. You gotta be listening to the album, and while you're listening to the album, you're poking around, seeing what the artists are saying, what the artists are doing, and if you are seeing this image, that means you're not seeing it in their story, you're seeing it reshared, which means you're also being fooled by somebody who got fooled by it. It's ridiculous. And just as a lesson to anybody out there on the internet, when you see a story be reposted like this, it is so important that you then go to Instagram and then go to that account and see if this story is there. If it's not there, you can take the account at their word and say it's a now deleted story, or you can just be extremely skeptical, which you should be. And always remember that reverse image search is your best friend. Again, that is just one click. I actually feel bad for Anthony Fantano. This is not the kind of L that you want to be taking. And even though it is a little bit of a meme and he's trying to kind of hide it and be very vague about it, it does kind of hit his credibility a little bit below the waist. Because how can you be the internet's busiest music nerd, or how can you at least claim that when you got something so easy, so wrong? And this is my second video this week about people getting got by just obvious memes on the internet. And underneath Anthony Fantano's apology, the Daily Nowd comes in and says, It's okay. We forgive, but we never forget. We'll give that a like. Super sad, super embarrassing. I'm so sorry that happened, Anthony Fantano. But because of how vague you are being about it and how much you're trying to tuck this into the back corners of your audience, it'll be forgotten about in no time. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. But both you and I know that you got by the Daily Nowd. No affiliation with the Daily Loud. So funny, dude. I'm still on your side, Anthony Fantano, and maybe tomorrow you'll be cashing in a dub. And that's where the Anthony Fantano apology situation is right now. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, goodbye, see you later, and have a good one.